questions are surrounding reopening the economy now in the midst of a deadly pandemic. The Los Angeles Times reports when leaders press for ending government restrictions aimed at containing the virus, they're proposing a huge gamble, not just for people in their own states, but for millions of others nationwide. And with the coronavirus still spreading, the risks are not just medical. They include the likelihood of expanding and lengthening the already catastrophic economic damage. Joining me now, Nancy Kass, professor of bioethics and public health at Johns Hopkins. Professor Kass, thank you for joining me. What was just read there, that Los Angeles Times headline, how much do you agree with that?
Well, I agree completely. We're all facing the fact that there is such a difficult balance between what we know and have already seen are tremendous public health benefits of these shutdowns with catastrophic impacts for so many Americans of this kind of shutdown.
Can you find a way to ethically reopen schools, ethically reopen businesses right now in these pandemic times?
So it's a great question. The key is to do it responsibly rather than to say, boy, it's getting hard, let's cross our fingers. So responsibly means several things. It certainly means to do the reopening gradually and with priority for certain kinds of resumption, certain kinds of services that would be resumed. It also means looking at what's going on locally and making sure that healthcare systems are not already overtaxed. If they're already overtaxed, it's not the right time. If they're starting to get down from that, it may be the time to start thinking about it. There also has to be more testing capacity, including some regular screening of people who are not symptomatic in some of the places that are opened. And ideally, some commitments to lack of discrimination for people who end up being sick. If there's an incentive for people to not tell others that they have symptoms, it's not going to work.
Exactly. I was going to bring up the subject of a dear friend of mine who survived it. She lives in Tokyo, but she feels like her neighbors look at her as if she has a scarlet letter C now branded on her. And yet, the fact is that she will be now going forward having antibodies compared to those who have yet to get it, who don't have antibodies, which brings up the whole issue of medical privacy, keeping your information private as we go forward. What are the challenges there?
Well, there are a lot of challenges, although those are not new challenges. There have been instances for a very long time where employees have a medical history that's relevant to whether or not they can work. And what they're required to do is usually have a doctor demonstrate that they are not able to work, rather than having to reveal to everyone at their workplace specifically what is going on. And that's an essential consideration because it will be much higher risk for some people to return than for others.
Can I ask, when one decides who gets the kind of treatment that they feel might be more effective in these times when you're having to experiment to some degree? We don't have proven treatments yet. Giving to some and not giving to others. Ethically, how are those decisions made?
Well, the decisions obviously are really hard. I mean, what's great news is that there are more and more actual research trials starting. There's a wide range of things that people are trying. Some of them are drugs that already are approved for other conditions, which means that legally they are allowed to be used sort of off the shelf on trial, but there are others that are new compounds. The truth is that if something ends up being miraculous, we will see that in the context of a trial very quickly, and can move to sort of a regular use much more rapidly. If it turns out that it has a partial impact, but it's not that great, then the trial becomes particularly important to start to see for whom it makes a difference and at what level.
All right. Professor of Bioethics and Public Health at Johns Hopkins, Professor Nancy Kass, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.